Okay, let's just dive right into this explainer. Today, we're decoding a seriously dense 40-point strategic guide to landing one of the most elite, high-stakes environmental roles out there in Paris. We're going to deconstruct exactly what it takes to become a senior program management officer at the P5 level for the United Nations Environment Program, specifically within their Materials and Systems Innovation Unit.
So, I want you to ask yourself right off the bat, are you ready for a mission that puts you at the absolute center of the global effort against climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution? Because look, this isn't your standard management gig. No way. This role requires someone who can step seamlessly from authoring peer-reviewed scientific assessments directly into a room with government ministers, industry executives, and finance leaders to negotiate the real-world implications of that science. You are literally tasked with shifting global consumption and production patterns toward a circular economy.
And the strategic guide makes the immense gravity of this role incredibly clear. Finding someone with an active scientific research profile alongside heavy-hitting program management experience it's incredibly rare. This isn't just a job opening, right? It's a hunt for a unicorn. They desperately need someone with undeniable scientific credibility who also knows exactly how to run massive institutional operations.
So here's our blueprint for deconstructing this massive career opportunity. 1. The ultimate UN mission. 2. Anatomy of a unicorn candidate. 3. Mastering the 5 competencies. And 4. Surviving the application gauntlet.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the ultimate UN mission, navigating the dual mandate.
Now, at the very core of this unit is a stark juxtaposition. You are constantly serving 2 entirely different audiences. On one side, you've got the scientific community, right? You have to ensure that UNEP's knowledge products meet the absolute highest standards of scientific rigor. But then, on the flip side, you have the policy and business community. You have to ensure that exact same science actually translates into practically usable policy-relevant guidance. It's like walking a tightrope. You have to be just as comfortable debating methodology with top researchers as you are structuring a circular economy framework with a corporate CEO.
And to pull that off effectively, you need a rock-solid technical foundation in life cycle approaches. It sounds jargon-heavy, but essentially you aren't just discussing theory. You'll be providing direct methodological advice on material footprint and circularity metrics to global stakeholders, helping them rigorously assess environmental impacts across a product's entire lifespan, from raw extraction all the way to end-of-life disposal.
And get this, the sheer density of the institutional network you're expected to manage is pretty staggering. You aren't just advising, you are providing operational secretariat support to 5 distinct science policy platforms, all at the same time. That includes the International Resource Panel, where you'd actively manage its scientific assessment pipeline, the 10-year framework of programs, the Green Growth Knowledge Partnership, the Global Alliance on Circular Economy, and the Life Cycle Initiative. Keeping all 5 of these massive bodies running, coordinated, and funded, that is a monumental administrative and diplomatic task.
Moving on to Section 2. Anatomy of a unicorn candidate. The hard numbers.
Okay, so the UN isn't messing around here. They require some unforgiving quantitative thresholds just to be considered for this P5 role. You can't just be passionate about the environment. You need the hard numbers. First up, 10. You're going to need a minimum of 10 full years of proven, policy-relevant advisory experience, specifically grounded in life cycle approaches and the circular economy. And the guide stresses this has to be demonstrable impact at the country level, not just general high-level sustainability work.
Next up is the number 5. Within that decade of experience, at least 5 years must be explicitly international experience. And on top of that, you absolutely must have a track record of managing multicultural, international teams of 5 or more people. They want hard proof that you can build cohesion and drive real results across different time zones, languages, and professional cultures.
Then there's the money. You must bring direct personal experience mobilizing resources for projects with budgets exceeding $5 million. It is not enough to just say you are part of a broader team that secured funding. The search panel is going to want to see your specific, personal contribution to raising capital at this massive scale, whether that's from government donors, multilateral funds, or private foundations.
And if those numbers weren't enough of a hurdle, we hit this dual requirement. It's an exceptionally high bar to require UN Level 3 English proficiency across reading, writing, listening, and speaking. The standard for many comparable postings is just Level 2. But because you are directly supporting peer-reviewed scientific assessments, they require Level 3 to guarantee you can actively write and review incredibly complex scientific documents. Speaking of which, you also have to have an active demonstrated publication record in peer-reviewed journals related to natural resource use. So again, you have to be a credible scientist yourself.
Section 3.
mastering the 5 competencies, or the soft power. Because beyond the hard numbers and the scientific credentials, you really have to prove behavioral mastery to survive and thrive in the UN system. For example, professionalism here doesn't just mean acting polite. It specifically demands concrete action on gender mainstreaming, meaning you absolutely must actively champion gender balance in all staffing and initiatives. You also need the client orientation to navigate setbacks transparently and the vision to genuinely inspire your unit, not just demand compliance. Ultimately, it's all about building an environment of continuous learning and deep psychological trust where your team can speak up without fear of repercussion.
Which brings us to Section 4, Surviving the Application Gauntlet, the climax.
Let's say you actually possess this incredibly rare matrix of skills. Well, you still have to navigate the unforgiving bureaucratic reality of the UN's institutional mechanics. First, this is an initial 1-year fixed-term appointment limited specifically to UNEP, meaning you have to be ready to hit the ground running and prove your value on day 1. Internal UN staff must follow strict lateral move rules. And finally, geographic diversity is highly prioritized. So, applicants from a specified list of unrepresented and underrepresented member states are strongly encouraged to apply.
So, what does this gauntlet actually look like? Step 1 is perfecting your UN Inspire profile with absolute precision. And remember, you cannot alter it once it's submitted. If you pass that initial screen, Step 2 is a grueling technical assessment exercise that evaluates your genuine capacity for scientific synthesis and life cycle methodology. Pass that, and you reach Step 3, a super intense, competency-based interview where you're going to need highly specific, concrete examples demonstrating every single one of those behavioral traits we just talked about.
But why jump through all these hoops? Because the ultimate goal of this role is ensuring that science translates into practically usable, policy-relevant guidance for governments, industry, and finance actors. That is the heart of the matter. This role isn't just about publishing papers or running meetings in Paris. It's about achieving massive, consequential policy impact to literally protect our planet's resources.
So after deconstructing the science, the high-stakes diplomacy, the massive budgets, and that rigorous UN gauntlet, I have to ask, are you ready to apply? Do you have the unicorn credentials to take on this planetary mission? Thank you so much for joining me to decode this incredible career blueprint, and I really hope it leaves you inspired by the scale of work being done to build a circular, sustainable global economy.